Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you are all doing well and that you are all having a great day. First off, this must be said, the opinions expressed in this video are my own and should not under any circumstances be taken as legal, tax, and or investment advice. Just had to say that. So also there are no paid advertisements in this video, as that's something that I just don't do. The point of this video is, as you can maybe tell from this article right here, it says Ethereum and EOS only have 8 dApps combined with 300 plus active users. This was actually, I think I may have spoken about this a couple of weeks ago. I may have just touched on it. The point is that part of the thing that is believed that is going to actually push the cryptocurrency space forward is the use of dApps and or decentralized applications, things that we use on our phone, our mobiles, our laptops, computers, wherever you may use any type of app. As we are into cryptocurrencies, the idea is to have things that are decentralized. The problem is that two of the largest places right now where people are creating dApps, very few of them are being used. So I thought I would not talk about it, but more like put a spotlight on it, kind of. There are a lot of actually really cool dApps, at least myself. This is what I think, floating around out there, and I'm going to try and at least talk about a few of them so that I can kind of let other people have an idea that these things also exist, because I feel like for some reason I was checking around on social media, it had to be a day or two ago, and a lot of the apps that have actually come out, or dApps as they are called, don't have social media pages, or if they do, they never post. So I don't know if it just comes down to poor marketing, or if just a lot of people don't simply know that these things even exist. The point is, I'm going to try and, if I can, open a door or open a window in everyone's mind so that they realize that these things are out there so that they can download them. Typically, a lot of them are free. Some of them, depending on which app that you're actually using, you do have to pay, especially if you are buying collectibles. The point is, let's move on so I can kind of get going through with this. So, this video is going to be a bit unorthodox. There's not really a framework for me actually doing this. I just thought I'd make something like this because I think since we are in the cryptocurrency community, I think we also have a bit of an obligation, as it were, to actually look into and at least maybe start using some of these apps, especially if it's something that actually appeals to you. There's a list going around. It says 5 dApps on Ethereum that you should know. Once again, these are not paid advertisements. None of these are. I just thought some of these were actually kind of interesting. First one is a decentralized news network. The decentralized news network, often referred to as DNN, is a dApp on the Ethereum blockchain that distributes censorship-resistant and verifiable news. DNN ensures accuracy and transparency by giving incentives to writers, reviewers, and readers for carrying out required tasks. The DApp is focused on getting the factual content out and enabling the biases by filtering the information through the decentralized community. Another thing is, if you have actually used any of these, you may be one of the 300 people who's actually using one of these dApps. Let other people know if you have used them, what you thought about them, and if you can actually recommend any other dApps that are floating around out there, because I think, realistically, the amount that we actually use our phones and use the internet during the day, there must be at least 15 to 20 different dApps floating around out there. I think we have like thousands of them now that have been built on top of these platforms that have to be like something significant that can people can relate to and or find something that they actually maybe want to use on a daily basis. Next one is called MakerDAO. Maker is an organization whose mission is to unlock the power of blockchain to create economic empowerment. They set out to solve the volatility problem in the crypto world. People and businesses require a stable medium of exchange, and the current cryptocurrencies are too viable. Their solution is a cryptocurrency known as DAI. DAI is a decentralized stablecoin soft-pegged to the US dollar with smart contracts. They created a system to minimize the volatility of DAI and keep it at a 1-to-1 ratio with the dollar. This means one DAI will always be equal to $1 in reality. However, there are narrow fluctuations. Same exact thing with Tether. That is something that we have all come to accept when it comes to stablecoins. I've actually not heard a lot about DAI, which is actually kind of interesting, especially I think this list is maybe like a month or so, maybe a bit more old. Maybe it just hasn't really gotten off of its feet. It has to be listed on some sort of exchange. Maybe it's actually listed on a decentralized exchange. That might be exactly what it actually is. 10x, a lot of people must know about this by now. 10x is a platform to spend cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum anytime and anywhere. 10x has an app on Android and iOS that changes virtual currencies to the currency accepted by a merchant with real-time, transparent rates and 0% conversion fees. The Android and iOS app make it possible to send and receive cryptocurrencies. It has a wallet that can store the major cryptocurrencies and issues a card that can be used to withdraw from ATMs. That is incredible. They have a partnership with Visa and are planning to get their banking license very soon. In April of 2018, 10x announced a partnership with Litecoin that aims to produce debit cards and spend Litecoin. I'm not exactly sure if that actually went through. Litecoin was having a couple of issues earlier this year. The point is, this could potentially also appeal to you if you have your own shop or own store or own restaurant or cafe where you've been thinking of trying to get cryptocurrencies accepted or accepting cryptocurrencies or allowing people to pay in cryptocurrencies. This could be something very significant for you. Even more so if you have been looking for a way to actually spend your crypto. This is one of a lot of people constantly ask how, I have the crypto, what do I do with it? And this is a seemingly good way. Like I said, if you have used 10x before or any of these other DApps, please let people know exactly what you thought about them. I think I've heard a couple of months ago 10x was actually quite big, or I think a lot of people were actually using them. It could be because the market is down and no one's really looking to spend, as it were, their crypto. Everyone's waiting for the prices to go back up. But eventually, if we do end up entering a world where Bitcoin is in the 6 digits and people are looking to actually spend their crypto on a daily basis, 10x then could be for you. Next up is Gnosis, which actually also isn't in the news as much anymore. It says Gnosis is a prediction platform on the Ethereum blockchain. A prediction market is an exchange-traded market where people speculate about future real-world events like presidential elections, commodity prices, etc. People who accurately predict the outcome of any set events are rewarded. In Gnosis, accurate predictions can be rewarded in GNO tokens or any other cryptocurrency depending on the present rules. Developers can create their own prediction market on Gnosis with the developer tools on the platform. I think Gnosis was often compared to, what is it called? Augur. Augur was the other prediction market that was built on top of the Ethereum network. It is believed the entire reason why we have prediction markets, or rather decentralized prediction markets. And I was listening to, once again, a podcast many moons ago, and they were talking about the advent or beginning of a world where we no longer have to rely on stock markets or rely on not even centralized, other things that are regulated by governments, i.e. if you were trying to make a bet that on the 15th of October it's going to rain 8 centimeters, and then at that moment a cat is going to walk across the street. You're able to do that, on your own free will with your friends. Even if you have 15 friends and you guys like to bet and or predict certain things, you're able to do that on Gnosis. You are not able to do that on any other government-based and or highly regulated prediction market that they have out there. And it's also believed that should these eventually catch on, people in Wall Street would actually start flowing to Gnosis and to Augur simply because they want to bet on other things. Everyone, in essence, likes to make money. But when you are restricted as to what you can bet against, especially in a lot of other countries where betting is illegal or are trying to predict something that is going to happen in the future, this can also be seen as gambling. So please make sure that you know what laws your country has before you start using this. The point is, this is also, I'd actually think this is actually quite interesting. The idea of prediction markets and being able to predict even historical events or things that could potentially happen could potentially be a very major thing in the near future. The last thing on here is IDEX. I'm going to actually stay away from this one as this is a decentralized exchange. A lot of decentralized exchanges right now don't have the level of security that is actually required or that we see in a lot of other centralized exchanges, what have you. So it is going to take a long time. It is believed that it is going to take a long time for decentralized exchanges to kind of get it together so that they are secure enough, because we have had a lot of hacks. I don't know if it has happened to IDEX or IDEX or whatever you kind of want to say it as. I don't know if it's happened to them. Probably not. The point is, I'm not going to touch that simply because I don't want to tell anyone to start using a decentralized exchange, especially if they have the probability or possibility of being hacked and or attacked anytime in the near future. I found a website called DAP Radar. It's very simple, DApPradar.com, where they actually have a whole bunch of DApps listed. And I was very lucky that I actually found this, because I was hoping that there was actually something out there that actually showed what was actually happening in the cryptocurrency space as far as DApps, because a lot of times, typically when we hear about it, especially when we hear about it in articles, it is never, how do I say this? There's never anything really concrete. I also don't see things like this actually being advertised. So I think if you are planning on using a DApp, or you are interested in using a DApp, maybe check out DAP Radar, as they may have a lot of information. They have things about games, they have things about exchanges, they have things about DApps that are, you can collect things, also marketplaces and other things like that. It's quite interesting. They have a ranked list. I'm going to start out with the gambling DApps, simply because I think, me personally, that part of a large future of the cryptocurrency space is probably going to be gambling. For those who do not know, gambling is an immense part of the financial world, because a lot of people like to bet, they like to gamble, they like to do stuff like that. So there are a fair amount of gambling DApps out there. What's interesting also about DApRadar.com is that they actually show you, it's kind of weird, how many users in the past 24 hours, the actual volume that's actually flowing through them. And this is kind of what this article over here was talking about. The amount of users in the past 24 hours is like 3 on this one, 290, 229. You know, they're not the largest numbers in the entire world. Even the volume that's floating around, like this one had 1.7 Ethereum over the last 24 hours, which is not that great. Once again, to be fair, this could all be happening simply because, you know, the market is down. There's not a lot of, maybe not a lot of interest flowing around out there. But like I said, what I've seen is that for some reason, a lot of these, I don't know if they're just focusing more on building up the applications right now, as opposed to actually getting people to use them or let people know that they're actually out there. Maybe, I don't know. I really honestly don't know. But I've searched for a couple of them, and they, for some reason, just don't have, they have nothing on their social media platforms. I can understand if you, or rather if they don't have the money per se to be able to advertise themselves as much as they would like to on other, you know, on Facebook or on Instagram. But to have nothing is very, very odd, especially if this is supposed to be the thing that helps propel cryptocurrencies into the mainstream. Another really interesting one is simply like decentralized games. I am a game player myself, so I thought this was actually quite useful. Rather, this has the most users than I think any other thing that I've actually seen. Even CryptoKitties has fallen a tiny bit. But even over the last 24 hours, they do have at least 80 Ethereum that was flowing through the market. To be fair, that's not an enormous amount, but the 7-day is actually pretty relatively healthy. It's impossible for me to actually go through every single one of these. This would take me a very long time. I do apologize if you are one of the creators of these DApps, and I do not have the chance to actually go over them. But I'm only one man. I don't have an immense amount of time, and I don't want to make a 9.5-hour video. Clicking around, I tried to find some of the most popular ones, if you will. One of the ones that really caught my eye first was called godsunchained. This is actually for people if you are interested in not only trading collectibles, but also in like a trading card type thing. They have who their partners are and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to go too deep in this. This is really just to let people know that these things are out there, that you have the possibility of using them. You can get into these things if you want. There are a lot of people who are into any type of trading card game. This actually looks very, very close to a number of other apps, as well as Magic the Gathering. So this is also something I was looking through this website, and this is probably something that I think I would actually even use or download myself. I am actually heavily into video games and trading card games. So this is something, it's also beautifully made. I have not been able to click through every single thing in it. But it seems like you're able to not only collect them, but also battle with other people. I'm not sure if you get rewards after you actually have beaten someone. So I know a lot of people might not be into the, the elf, the goblin, the bird sitting on the shoulder type games, but there are a lot of people who are actually into these things. And I know a lot of people, even in real life, who would probably be interested in something like this because, it's sometimes more comfortable to be able to do this at home on a computer. than actually having to maybe go out and do other things, especially a lot of people like to play games on the computers themselves. Next up, no real introduction. Everyone knows CryptoKitties. The saddest part of this is that CryptoKitties was actually the largest DApp that we had in the cryptocurrency space. You can actually see the this big jump over here, the amount of users. Wow, that was okay. You can see it right here. 7,000 users were actually on CryptoKitties. To around where we are right now, it's certain days we have hundreds, 200, 300s. CryptoKitties is okay. I tried using it somewhere around this time period. My main problem that we had with it was that the Ethereum system was completely clogged. It took a long time to actually even try and buy or trade a cat. So I kind of backed away completely from it, and I can only assume that this is why a lot of other people have done so as well. For what it's worth, it is still one of the most popular DApps that we actually have out there. I'm not sure if a lot of people or even a lot of you have used CryptoKitties. It's okay. I'm going to be as honest as possible. It's a little weird. It's just like photos of cats, and you're like collecting these cats. I was hoping that it would have been a bit more animated. Maybe they just aren't there at that point in developing the DApp yet. But if you are into collecting cats and that's something that floats your boat, I would definitely look into CryptoKitties as well. As like I said, it's definitely one of the most popular. It has a lot of activity on the website. At least 5,000 transactions have happened over the last 24 hours, which is something to make sure to look for when you're trying to actually get into something. I couldn't find a lot of what's it called, like sports-based. Hold on, did it click? My computer is trash. Hold on. Nope. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. Oh gosh, I'm so dumb. I thought it was the actual website. I couldn't find a lot of things that actually had to do with sports. One of the very few that I could find was called MLB Crypto Baseball. I know there are an enormous amount of people who are actually into baseball. It appears, like I said, I'm not really into baseball, so I can't really tell you myself. Nope, the actual website isn't loading. Oh, there we go. It appears you're actually able to collect famous players. I'm going to say that they're famous because their names are here. You're actually able to, I assume you're able to buy them, trade them, collect them. And it seems like if you read through the website, forgive me if I am incorrect, I feel like you can also not battle with them. You can like play games with them as well. This is kind of what it seems like. I am going to assume, yeah, there we go. I assume you can kind of like play with them in some certain way to be able to, play against your friends and stuff like that. A lot of people think, or the idea is that as time goes on, a lot of these things will actually become more valuable, if that kind of makes a lot of sense. Whereas, like for CryptoKitties, one of the major things was that when the first generation of cats were born, if you kind of want to say it that way, that by the time we had like generation 29 or something like that of the cats that were being born, the generation 0 and generation 1 cats would then be the most expensive, as they were the hardest to find. So kind of the same exact thing. Also goes with this like godsunchained thing as well. If you read through it, I'm not going to click through the entire website. They actually talk about, I think what they actually have right now is their like first set of cards that have come out on the platform. And as time goes on, more sets will then be released. And, should crypto collecting, digital asset DApp collecting really catch on, it could be that in the future that the first set of cards that are actually on this platform will become some of the most valuable, as if you are acquiring these cards, they are yours, same exact thing as in the the physical touching of these actual things. And should by the time the 5th or 6th set actually comes out for this, people will then be looking for these old cards, as they were the oldest and most. I think that's 146 ether for this card. That's a lot of Ethereum. So I think it's going to be the exact same thing for this. One can only assume that as time goes on, while my computer has like the worst time loading this website, that as time goes on, as more people get into baseball, or we get new players and stuff like that, I assume people will then be looking for these digital collectibles of these characters. I don't assume that they're like unlimited either. Typically what ends up happening is, if you have paid attention to any of the other DApps, they make them rare. Like they're not the, there's not like an unlimited amount of them. This is why they actually have a cost, because there's only so many of them that are actually floating around. I spoke about Everpedia before, I think actually in maybe one or two other videos. The point of it is, it's pretty much a decentralized Wikipedia. You can actually become an editor on yourself. I think you actually receive Everpedia tokens by creating content. This is actually one of the largest DApps that we have right now. I think there are actually millions of users or something like that who are using it or have used it. Don't quote me on that exact number, but it's incredibly popular. I know it's only going to become more popular as time goes on. If you are a, how do I say this? If you are a writer, or you like to create content, or you like to just create Wikipedia articles, then I would probably switch over to Everpedia, because you'll actually be able to be paid for your efforts. Everpedia is expected to become one of the most important DApps that we have in the entire cryptocurrency space, simply because this will actually give access to a lot of people who have or are living in countries where crypto is restricted, i.e., you know, or rather news itself. There are a lot of governments around the world who do not like their citizens to know about things, anything that the government does not deem fit. And if you are actually posting on Everpedia, or actually you'll be able to use Everpedia in these other countries around the world, and this will help the spread of information for people who are living in countries that they cannot access normally on their own. Not to spend too much time on Everpedia, we've definitely spoken about it before, but if you are an editor, or if you are a writer, or if you like to create articles, like I told people before, if you you're actually able to create articles on yourself, and there are a lot of people around the world who are actually creating articles about themselves and their entire family. I think you can also create like family trees within the Everpedia DApp and or website, depending on how you're using it, where you can actually list out your entire family history. So the idea is, if in 4 or 5 generations, you know, you have family members who are interested in who you were, or who your mother was, or who your grandmother was, or who your father was, they'll actually have a complete rundown, everything written by you, so that they can know more about their family. Kind of interesting. At least I think so. I think that's very interesting. You know, 5 generations down the line, hundreds of years from now, having people being able to know exactly who their ancestors were without kind of having to guess. Like, I have to mainly guess. I don't know where my family was 500 years ago. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people also don't know that either. Anyway, moving on from Everpedia. DAP Radar also has an EOS list. EOS has a bit more activity, that might be an understatement, than it actually does on the Ethereum side. Like, certain things actually have like 700,000 EOS that are floating over through the last 24 hours, and that's 22% down. So one can only, that's actually 270% up. Some of the major ones that I was actually able to find, and or somewhere around there, is EOS.when. Once again, these are not paid advertisements. I haven't actually used any of them myself, just because I don't really gamble. I'm going to throw that out there. But it seems relatively transparent. It shows exactly what's going on. You can see all the transactions that are actually flowing through it right now. Like I said, I know a lot of people like to gamble. I know a lot of people like to get into the gambling game. And especially, realistically, I know it'll appeal to a lot of people, especially if you can just be at home and be able to, you know, you can do this by yourself and be able to potentially win cryptocurrencies. It's also kind of interesting. Another one that I found that was also very large is called EOS Bet. Once again, another betting platform. What I think is interesting about this, and I tried searching around for it at least 15-20 minutes, and I couldn't really find a lot of information. As far as I know, that on Ethereum you have to pay what's it called, like gas, like you know, transaction fees, if you will, every single time that a transaction actually happens on the network. This is why we need these updates on Ethereum, at least at the time of me making this video, in order for the transaction to kind of go through smoothly and or quickly. But on EOS, there are no transaction fees, and this may be why there's like a lot larger volume flowing through the actual thing, simply because I think you can actually maybe do it a lot quicker. I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I know there are free transactions on the EOS network. So the other large one that I found was EOS Bet. Once again, I'm actually kind of interested in using a couple of these. I might even do like a bit of a follow-up in a couple of weeks or something like that after I've used a couple of these myself. Just to, you know, I want to see exactly if they work, how they work, if they're working really well. Just so I can maybe even recommend a few more of them, because I think it's actually a shame that none of these are being used, or like very few of them are actually being used. I feel like on a daily basis, we should, you know, at least maybe be using some of these, especially if you are into a coin or a cryptocurrency that does have, you know, if you're into a crypto that has a platform that does create DApps, you know, maybe start using some of those. That's not me telling you to like explicitly use them, but maybe look into it. See exactly if it's something that could benefit you. If you're playing a game where you are rolling dice or you are playing some type of casino game, normally on your phone, why not potentially do it on, you know, a blockchain or from a coin that you own? Or maybe even a lot of these also have ways that you can actually bet and then also receive cryptocurrencies after you've won. That, you know, could be kind of nice, making some money as you were on the train. One of the last largest ones was called EOS Knights. It's also something that looks potentially interesting. Not exactly sure how any of these works. It is actually available on the Google Store and the Google Store, the Play Store, and also the Apple Store, which is great because a lot of, oh, nope, available soon. Sorry about that. A lot of them are usually only available right now on the Play Store. I mean, this could be another reason why a lot of them aren't really that used. I know a lot of people have Apple phones in the States. So I guess if there's like a bit of a restriction, that could stop a lot of people. The point is to kind of end it here, more or less. I know the video was a bit unorthodox, but I sat here and I was like, it's kind of a shame that we have like actually thousands of DApps that are out there, potentially anywhere from 20 to 50 million people who are actually into crypto and into the cryptocurrency space right now. And even more or less, I'm going to assume out of those 20 to 50 million people, that at least 100,000 people around the world are into video games and or gambling or into some other type of thing that, you know, they could definitely find a type of DApp that is for them. Hope you all enjoyed. Once again, if you've used any of these, tell me below. Tell other people, especially if you have liked them or disliked them. Be as honest as possible. People need to know what they should waste their time on. I might try and download EOS Knights. I might try and download, or rather use, Gods Unchained. And I might try and use some of the other betting ones just to see exactly if they pay out and exactly how useful they are. Once again, I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you guys are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening. Wherever you are, wherever you might be, thank you once again for watching and or listening. Go out there and download some DApps. Maybe, like I said, I'm trying to make a follow-up video to tell you some of the best ones that I found. Thank you once again, and I'll talk to you all soon. See you.